Good evening and welcome to the Online Darts Fallout Bar as we come to the conclusion of night 3 of the Betfred World Matchplay. My name is Dan Simpson. I am absolutely full of lemsip and strepsils. I am really struggling with the man flu this evening, so I am very, very glad to see my colleague and friend Cam McFarlane on the stream with me this evening. Cam, how are things over on the other side of the Pennines?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Not bad at all. Yeah, if you need me to just waffle on for a while, just so that you can save your voice, just give me the nod, and we'll just keep going. But yeah, it's good to be back on, and good to have a decent night of darts to talk about. I don't think it quite lived up to what we all had kind of built it up in our heads to be, but it was all right.
Yeah, and I think you and I was just sort of alluding to that before we went live, wasn't it? I think we'd built it up so much. There was so much to get excited about in terms of what we could have seen tonight, because those 4 games just had so much potential for, darting entertainment. We know the ceiling of the A game of both Heta and Searle is monstrous. It's very difficult to be a darts fan and not get excited about Michael Smith against Gary Anderson. We all know that the world was waiting to see game number 3 this afternoon. And then, of course, the headline act this evening was a certain Mr. Chris Dobey. But you're right, it didn't quite. It was a good night of darts, but it didn't quite reach the level I think that we'd maybe hoped for. But a good night of darts all around. We'll adopt our usual format. I think we'll have a chat through the games in the order in which they took place. And then we'll have a little bit of a chat about what's to come tomorrow and what we think is going to happen. Chat room is busy already. In fact, the chat room is very busy tonight already. We've got
apologies to the chat room if anyone can hear how hard it's raining here. It's absolutely lashing down. I don't know if that's coming across in the microphone or not, but it might be getting away down here in Manchester.
Well, it's exactly the same over here in the northeast as well. It's battering down with rain. I've managed to shut all the doors and windows and try and minimise the amount of noise that's coming through. But we've got a really busy chat room today. Daniel's in, Mr. David's in, Shelty's in, Joe is in, Malachi's in, Nels is in, Patrick's in. It's a really, really busy chat room. Please keep getting stuck in. As you can tell, my voice is clinging on this evening, so the more that you all get involved, the less I have to do in terms of steering the ship. And we will try and get you all involved as well for some predictions, because we've got some rather exciting games to come tomorrow. But returning back to tonight's action and the opening game, we saw a unseeded player, and we, at the beginning of this tournament, I think we all thought there was an awful lot of 50-50 games, and we thought an awful lot of these unseeded players might come through. Not quite so many as some, perhaps even myself, predicted, but we did see a seeded player dispatch one of the seeds in the opening game as Ryan Searle beat Damon Heta. And Damon Heta didn't do a great deal wrong here, but Ryan Searle's finishing surely the story of this game.
Yeah, I think we saw Heta get into a 2-0 lead early on, and you almost thought Searle was a little bit in trouble straight away because he didn't get out the blocks the fastest. But the 1-6-7 and the 1-4-2 just kicked him into gear, and from there onwards, it was just all about Ryan Searle from that point. And I thought Heta played all right. He wasn't magic by any stretch, I wouldn't say. It was just okay, but he just didn't give himself any opportunities because of Searle didn't let him in.
No, and it did look, I mean, when Heta took that very early break for the 2-0 lead, I'll be honest, I thought we're in for to be honest, I thought we're in for this scoreline the other way around. I thought Heta's just going to kick, Ryan Searle will always hold some legs because his scoring's that good that he will give himself time in legs, especially on his own throw. He'll often have the opportunity to miss doubles, but he just didn't seem. These doubling stats, I mean, they're very good. Let me just remind myself of exactly what they were.
Ryan 55 and a half. So
yeah, 55, 10 out of 18. But I think that what those stats don't reflect is that he very, very rarely missed doubles in a visit. It was very rare that if he
number of last start in hand.
Yeah, he did miss some doubles, but he very rarely let Heta get back to the yoke. He was under threat as well. I think it was fairly early doors. Heta was sat on 56. I think that might have been one of the big ones that Searle was on. And just was not a lot. Heta was doing all the right things. He was scoring. He was creating opportunities to break Ryan Searle, and then not get teeing up those 56s and not getting back to the hockey because Searle was just very, very clinical. But still, Searle played very, very well. But we know there's more to come from him. That was a really good opener, I think, from Ryan Searle, and the rest of the tournament looks quite positive for him, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was really, really good. And like you say, it was just doing all the right things at the right time, basically, wasn't it? Like, you were seeing Heta go up there and he twice hit a 171 to leave 54, I think it was, on both occasions, or something along those lines, where he never got back to the hockey again, like you say, and it was just the timing from Searle was so good, and it did look like there was more out there. Like, the only 2 180s in there, and we know how heavily he can score with them when he's right on it as well. So yeah, he's not someone I'd be in a rush to be playing.
No, definitely not. And are we concerned at all for Damon Heta at the moment? We saw him. I think it would be fair to say that he underperformed at the World Cup, but the match play stage isn't one. 2 years ago, he went out in the opening round to Joe Cullen with a sort of fairly subpar performance. The match play isn't a stage that we've seen the best of Damon Heta. He unfortunately ran into Luke Humphries last year, which is unfortunate for anybody in a tournament last year if you run into Luke Humphries. But is it time to get a little bit worried about Damon Heta given that subpar performance at the World Cup? And I mean, he didn't do a lot wrong though today, did he?
No, I think if he played poorly like he did, like I say, at the World Cup, he was not anywhere near the player that we know he can be. But I don't think it was that tonight. It wasn't his best performance by any means, but he was still steady enough, and he's still averaged 101 over the course of 14 legs, which it always helped by the fact that he only had darts to win 6 of those 14 legs. But even so, I just think it wasn't an awful performance. He didn't throw in an absolute stinker. I think he just got beat by the better man on the night.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Now, it looks like our man in the venue, Phil Bars, is, and as you will all see if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, he's been speaking to the players after their victories. I'm just having a quick look because I think that we may have some interview clips, but at the minute, I'm having a bit of a flick around and I can't see them. Have a quick look.
Hang on, let me see if I can see them from my side.
I think we might be loading, folks. I'll tell you what we might do. We might go on to the next game. We might hear from Ryan Searle in just a few moments. We might maybe hear from Ryan Searle and Michael Smith at the same time. We'll move on just ever so slightly for now. So moving on to the second game. And this was a game, Cam, that garnered an awful lot of interest, both from inside and outside the darts world. We know the BBC, and it might be because of the third game, but the BBC were doing live text coverage of this game. It was, again, it promised so much, and at different stage of this game, it threatened. Certainly at the first break with Gary Anderson 3-2 up, it definitely threatened to be a big one. But then that relentless onslaught from Michael Smith, he just blew him away in the end, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it's one where Gary's probably going to feel like he let him in here, because it could and very likely should have been at least 4-1, if not 5-0 at that first break, because Smith was nowhere near it at that point. I think just getting in only a leg down in a session that he'd been comprehensively outplayed in just allowed him to relax. And then he came out for that second session and rattled through 5 straight legs in no time at all, it felt like.
Well, it worked out.
It was sort of over with.
I think it worked out seven legs on the spin for Michael Smith, and 4 of them were breaks of throw. You know, Gary Anderson just couldn't hold on to his throw. It's very promising for Smith, though, being able to do that. You know, we a lot of people had this game as a bit of a 50-50, but and again, it's not that Gary didn't turn up. His doubling wasn't great, but neither was Michael Smith's, to be honest. But he just managed to find that second gear, and once he got his foot down and that average started to lift above the ton, he just wasn't going to give it up, was he? And then at which point the gap was just too big. Yeah,
that was it. At that point, the game was sort of done, wasn't it? At 7-3, you just didn't fancy that Gary was going to be able to come back, partly because of how well Smith was playing at that point. I mean, I almost feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing, but you still feel like he could play a lot better. Because the way he started and the hole that he had himself in, like if Gary had been on it at the start, it's 5-0, and it might have been completely the other way around, that we would have seen the same sort of scoreline. But
yeah, he
was good from Smith, and he just gave himself, just sort of relaxed into it after nicking a couple of legs at the start of the first session.
He managed to just keep it within reach, and then towards the end, I think in those last 4 legs, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 180s in the last 4 legs. The level towards the back end of that game was just, it was a lovely game to watch. Gary, of course, has been, a little bit a victim of the draw. Obviously, he has come in unseeded. He's been unfortunate enough to meet, someone who is in very good form, recent Premier League finalist. So, you could have seen Gary coming through maybe 70% of the seeds, but he's just been unfortunate with that draw in meeting Michael Smith. We'll come a little bit. We won't dwell too much on what's next for Michael Smith and what's happening, because we will have a little bit of chat about predictions and where we think is going to happen next. But the next one, Cam, to a lot of people, without a shadow of a doubt, that the main event, I think the main event of round 1, the game that got everybody excited when that draw came out, and it was a very good match, and Michael van Gerwen played very, very well. But it was, to quote the great man himself, it was a right things at the right times performance, wasn't it? This,
yeah, and I think, like we say, we all sort of built it up, didn't we, into being, this is going to be the one. This is the one that everyone's looking forward to as soon as the draw's done. And we're probably victims of our own sort of hype around it, that they both averaged over a ton. And we're sat here going, no, that was a bit crap from them, weren't it? It wasn't what, and it's probably the biggest compliment that you can pay them, that a ridiculously good performance that they both put in there. We both felt like it wasn't as good as we expected it to be.
It's weird, isn't it, though? And I think, again, we are victims of both of them. We know that this, and again, I think everyone got so excited because there was that potential that this goes into overtime. We get to 9-9 and find they're both averaging 107. And through that process, we've seen any number of absolutely, monster checkouts and big swings in backwards and forwards and stage presence from them both. We definitely saw a subdued, and I'm looking for the word, but not quite at the races. I think Luke Littler tonight, he couldn't quite find. I think there was a lot of wasted darts. He wasn't, I don't think, ultra, or he didn't appear to be like ultra tuned in, focused on making every dart count. I think there was a bit of there was certainly some slack darts thrown.
There were a few, especially at sort of the sevens and at things like that. Like he was on a 138 towards the end where he hit the first treble 19 absolutely perfectly. It might even have been the final leg. I can't quite remember now. But it was so perfectly in the top half of the treble 19 that you just thought there's nothing he's going to do but stick one right next to it exactly where he wants it. And instead, it was probably an inch down to the left and in the 7. It's just those odd little moments where, he still played really well, but he's set this bar for himself now.
It's a strange one because everybody was worried about MVG. He appeared on everybody's lists of, seeds that we think are in danger. And, there's been so much talk about his form in general and his throw and his action. And then I think a lot of people saw that draw and just thought, Luke will, he'll just turn up, boss him, and that'll be, Michael won't be able to find it. But the man is a serial winner, and he seems to manage to find ways, doesn't he? He knows how to win. He certainly knows how to win.
He was right up for it, wasn't he? Like you could tell he really fancied this one, and he just wants to go up there and prove a point that he's still got it and that he can still go and do it. And he did that. It was a really good, solid, comfortable win for him in the end.
It was, and I think that's what he needed. We've talked about some of the interviews with him. I know when he sat down with Phil a few times, and we've pulled out. And I know we overanalyze it sometimes, and we pull out his exact wording, and he would talk about the dominance and his game, and everybody knows he's the best in the world. But I think he's just reminding everybody in that field that he can beat anyone. And that is the solid fact, isn't it? We know he isn't currently the best player in the world. Probably not in the top 2, probably not in the top 3 best players in the world at the moment. But he can beat anyone, everyone. And if you're not quite at it, if you're not going to turn up and average 103, he'll create opportunities. And if he does the right things at the right time, then he will create potentially enough opportunities to get you out of there.
Yeah, and I just had a feeling he would. He would today as well. I tipped it in our darts team group chat as well. The Searle, Smith, and MVG treble, which was about 9-1. And the main reason that it probably came in is the fact I didn't actually back it myself. So that's
well played, well done.
Yeah, excellent work there. Yeah, tipped it to everyone else. Did not back it myself, and of course, again.
Very magnanimous of you there. Just while you mention that, Cam, I think just before we go in to talk about our final game, it is definitely worth us mentioning that title sponsors of the Betfred World Matchplay this year are, and it's in the name, it is Betfred. You will see them at the top of the screen, just up there somewhere, yeah.
And over there, that way.
And there, yeah, and there. Betfred have got an offer on this year for new customers. They are, of course, supporting us on these Fallout podcasts as well. So a big thank you to them first and foremost. But if you aren't already a Betfred customer, which unfortunately for us, Cam, I think both you and I are.
Yeah, so we've missed out on all the fun here. We did ask in the chat the other day whether we can just be given the offer as well. But
yeah, computer says no. But if you aren't a Betfred customer and you do want a little bit of value and a little bit of an offer, whether you're having a bet on the darts or the golf or whatever else is going on, Tour de France, whatever other sport you're following at the moment, if you open a Betfred account and you use the promo code SUMMER50 and you place a bet of £10, then you will be rewarded with a free bet of £50, which is an excellent offer. There are, of course, some terms and conditions to that. I think off the top of my head, your stake isn't included in your payout, and I think your qualifying £10 bet's got to be evens or more. Do, of course, remember to gamble responsibly, begambleaware.org. But nice little offer there from title sponsors and our sponsors here on the Fallout Bar Betfred. So I think that brings us to a very positive final game, the main event for
here he is.
Up here.
Always a happy man sat across from me when.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate. For large parts of this match, I was both not happy and I was uncomfortable and I was nervous and I went for a walk around the garden and I wasn't like.
This why you're ill. This is what's happened. You've been walking around the garden in the rain because you were stressed about the Dobey game.
Because this was a very stressful watch, and it was almost like the real Chris Dobey. You know, if all the way through, can the real Chris Dobey please stand up? And it took him sort of to 7-all before we really did see the real Chris Dobey stand up.
It was a scrap until that point, wasn't it?
It was a real scrap. We saw some, I mean, almost exhibition shots. He was relentlessly playing that double 19. We saw him go double on the double 19 twice.
Yeah, and then missed 3 clear darts at it on the next visit, the next leg.
Yeah, it was a tough watch, but I think I mean, full props to Richie Edhouse. You know, another match play debutant. Richie Edhouse, I have on the streams for the last 6 months talked about how good Richie Edhouse has been this year, how well he's played on the Euro Tour, and how well he seems to be having a real, almost like renaissance in his career. He's been around the scene for a long time, but really seems to have found some consistency at that top level. Played very well. He worked very hard to hold his legs when he came under pressure. His finishing was very good, but I just think in those last few legs, just the class and that difference in, genuine, regular experience and ability from Chris Dobey just shone through, didn't it, that back end?
Yeah, I think that was it. It was quite clear that one of them hadn't been up there on that stage before, and it's not easy, is it? Let's be honest, it's not easy to get up there and go and play for the first time. It's tough. It's a lot of pressure, and I thought he did really well throughout. Actually, Richie Edhouse, that when Dobey gave him opportunities, and he gave him quite a few, he was excellent in taking them and giving himself that chance to take the lead at 5-3. And it was only, like you said, a couple of bits of magic from Dobey of the 2 double 19 finishes that got him back level at 5 apiece and then at 6 apiece.
And we did. I mean,
he could have really been in trouble. And then from 7-all, like I say, it was clinical from Dobey at that point, and it was a lot better. He scored well. He started to find the treble 20 finally. I think he had 3 in the last 3 legs, 180s. And yeah, just did a professional job in the end, despite the fact that he missed 347,000 doubles in the first half of the match.
Yeah, I mean, he was chasing around, wasn't he? I lost count of how many times we see him chasing for double 5
Top
and then
ends 5s, yeah.
Yeah, talking about, is he going to, ending up on an odd number? Is he going to split it, going into the 7 instead of the 19? There was a few just big slips. I mean, Chris Dobey's going to have to lift his game. But I suppose the comforting thing for Chris Dobey and Chris Dobey fans such as myself is we do know that he has that level. We know he has another gear. We know he can get out fast because we saw him play some unbelievably good stuff last year, very short format on the Premier League. So we know he can come out and win legs quickly. And that's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to find, settle on those doubles. The more conventional ones, not have to keep hunting around the board and doubles at 19. That's not the ideal way to win darts. It's great when it comes off and it looks good, but yeah. I would argue that's not part of the overarching strategy. That's not the plan.
No,
that's
exactly.
Not plan A, is it?
No, it's definitely not. And at no point is plan A to be 10 from 38 on your doubles. But there is something to be said for winning games even when you're not playing well, because if you can do that and then just build into the tournament, start to sound like I sounded all the way through the Euros. Let's not go there. Jesus, we will get lost then. But get yourself through games that you've not played well in, and then build into it. You can go and do something, and hopefully for Dobey fans like yourself, it will be a case of he does play better. He starts to score well earlier, and he starts to just be a bit more clinical on his doubles, leave 16s more often and 8s rather than tops and 10s, because they were not working whatsoever.
No, it does appear like we probably hit some Wi-Fi issues in the venue. I know Phil's had a few goals at trying to get us some interviews dropped into the back end here, and I think we've been unsuccessful so far. But please remember, folks, all of the interviews and reaction from the players from tonight's matches will be available on our YouTube channel that you are currently watching us on now. So if you make sure you subscribe to that, once you've finished watching us prattle on and predict tomorrow's games, you can go and find out what everybody had to say about their games this evening. We are going to do some predictions. We're going to have a look ahead for tomorrow. If you're in the chat room, please do get involved. Stick your predictions in as well and get involved in the chat. If you're not subscribed to us, you will find that we have a clever little system that doesn't allow you to get into the chat room and comment unless you are subscribed. It's a little blackmail that we have going on. So do make sure you subscribe to the channel, and that will make sure you can engage in the frivolity of picking what's going to happen tomorrow. And this is quite an attractive looking session of darts overall. We'll talk through it in the order that things are going to happen. But again, I think every one of these for its own reason is very interesting. I mean, we open tomorrow night with Gerwyn Price against Ross Smith. And I think Gerwyn Price, a player that had very big question marks over his form, willingness, commitment to playing darts, desire to play in front of a rowdy crowd, but played superbly in his opening game. And meeting another player who had an unbelievably strong start, who a lot of people picked to get beat in the opening round in his game against Josh Rock. But Gerwyn Price plays Ross Smith, Cam. And I'm going to ask you to predict your score for this. Don't forget, folks, if you are putting your predictions into the chat room, we'll stick them on the screen for you. But we are now playing, we've lengthened the format a little bit. So we're playing best of 21 now instead of 19.
First to 11 now, as you say. First prediction for this game is this is a bloody good game. I am looking forward to watching this game a lot.
Do you know what though? I'm worried about saying that. I've said that so much, and I have.
Yeah,
we've seen
not to get too excited.
I predicted will be brilliant.
Yeah, too excited and talk it into being absolutely shite. But I just don't think this will disappoint. I think this will be a really good game. I've got a sneaky feeling about Ross Smith here. I think he could go deep here. So I think he wins this one and wins it 11-8.
Well, I feel like even just to be creative, I'm going to have to maybe change the score slightly because I have backed Ross Smith to make a quarter final. Like, I think Ross Smith comes through this quarter, and I'm going to stick with it. Do I go for? I don't want to go the same as you. Do I want to go tighter?
Yeah, because there's nothing surer than if you go the same as me that physically cannot happen. It doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, lay that quickly. Get yourself to Betfred. I'm going to go slightly tighter, and I will go 11-9 to Ross Smith. But I do think Ross Smith gets the job done. Patrick disagrees with us both. He's got an 11-8 win for Gezi Price. Shelty's got Price 11-9. We're outnumbered here by the looks of it.
We are massively outnumbered.
Joe's got 12-10. Oh,
I do like to pick I do like when we see someone go bold and we're going to extra legs here. But...
Yeah, we're going to overtime. So nobody in the chat room agrees with us, Cam. So
there are probably some quite smart people in the chat room.
Yeah, we've either outsmarted everyone or made ourselves look complete fools. Only time will tell, right? I know what if I had 50 pence, I'd probably put on. Now, for probably very different reasons in terms of what we expect to see and the level that we think will be on display here. But this is an equally fascinating game, is it not, between Nathan Aspinall and James Wade?
Yeah, it's not. I've got no hope whatsoever that this will be of the standard of the game that's going to come before it. It's going to be an absolute scrap and a fight and just a most of it's going to feel like the first 14 legs of the Dobey Richie Edhouse game, I think.
I think if somebody told
me,
a
hope in hell that anyone thinks I'm picking James Wade to beat Nathan Aspinall. That just doesn't happen.
I think if somebody, but it's a genuinely, it's a game I'm really looking forward. If somebody said to me, and right, I can predict the future, Dan, both players are going to average 84, I'd go, yeah, I still really want to see it though.
Yeah,
it genuinely excites me to see it. I think it's a really good prospect.
Absolutely, toss of a coin could go either way, but yeah, just on blind faith and loyalty, it's a Nathan Aspinall win for me, and it's a win. 11. You're never going to beat James Wade by a lot, are you? 11-9.
Oh well, I
was tempted to go bold and go take the extra legs there, but
we're not going to agree on this one, Cam. I am going to pick James Wade. I think we've seen a lot of. What have we seen through? I'm looking for diplomatic words. I was looking for words about.
We've seen a lot of comments from him.
That's what I was looking for. We've seen a lot of, but now sometimes that's exactly what James Wade sort of needs. He sort of almost sometimes he needs to create a bit of needle for himself, doesn't and almost make himself into the underdog in order to motivate himself to come out. And I think that could, we saw that resurgence from him. We saw some really good performances. Players' Championship 13 and 14. He's had a good start to the tournament. Obviously, he's very familiar with that stage, knows how to win on that stage. And I just think he's going to be able to wade his way through against a Nathan Aspinall who is struggling with injury. That's the nuts and bolts of it, if I'm honest. I am going to go, I think, where will I pitch that? Oh, do you know what? I'm going to have it slightly wider, I think, than I originally thought. I'm going to have it an 11-7 win for James Wade. Do you know, we've got loads of picks in the chat room as well. And you are once again against the masses, Cam. They've all gone against you, but they've backed me this time.
I'm making myself the underdog here. I don't want to really put anyone's comments up on the screen that say that Wade's going to win over Aspinall, but we're certainly not doing it if they've not picked a score.
That was the next thing. Now. I was getting highlight. Jack,
you know how the rules work in here. If you don't pick a score, you don't get shown.
Doesn't count unless you put a score on it. Mr. David, he's gone exactly the same as me with a Wade 11-7. We've got an 11-8 pick from Joel. Patrick has done it. Oh, he's been brave again. He's gone into extra time. He's picked Wade
in a shocker as well.
God, if that game goes into extra time, then God knows what time we're going to be doing this show tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's also gone Wade 11-9. Jack's committed. He's committed. He's gone 11-8 Wade. Well done, Jack.
Right, you can have it on the screen now.
You've got brave and you've put it in. So a clean sweep in the chat room for James Wade. They all think that the wisdom's coming from my camp at the moment. But very exciting game. I'm just having a quick out of interest. I was having a quick look at the head-to-head. Aspinall hasn't beaten Wade since 2022, which is quite a long time, isn't it? They haven't played each other a lot.
It is quite a long time, but do you know when that was?
Go on.
That was in the...
I did know, and I've closed that window now.
Yeah, that was in the quarterfinals of this event.
Of course, yes, it was. Well done. Yeah, good pick. Well, that might bring him some luck. Now,
not the quarterfinals, sorry, the last 16, sorry, of this event. It was over the same format. It was actually 11-9, funnily enough, which is what I picked him to win this time as well.
Well, let's see if history repeats itself. Maybe repeat or revenge. This one. So the other night on the stream, I was manifesting this game. I desperately wanted Stephen Bunting to come through that opening round game, purely and simply. Again, it's very, very rare you'll find me backing against one of the Geordie lads, but I just wanted to see this game. I think it's a crying shame for one player that it's happened in the second round, and one of their campaigns is going to come to an early end, really, looking at the form. But I just think this is It's a box office game. That crowd, it's a local crowd. They are going to go Bunting mental. But we've also got Luke Humphries, who's on the back of a ridiculous first-round performance, averaging 108, I think he did, 60-ish% on his doubles. But there's an awful... this could be the game of the tournament, couldn't it, potentially? If they both turn up.
Yeah, I really like the look of this game. This is one that there's no way that this game could not be good. There's no possibility that this game isn't a really good watch and a really good game. I think Bunting will play better than he did against Joyce in that first game, where he was still really good. It's not like he didn't play bad by any means, but he's going to have to up it because Humphries was exceptional. I still don't think, however much he might up it, it will be enough, though.
Yeah.
I think... I don't think he get... I'm going to give him 6. I think it's 11-6 to Humphries.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Whilst I really want to see this game, what I really want to see is I want to see that I know the potential for what we could see. It's like Littler against MVG tonight. You get excited about it because of the potential of what it could offer.
Yeah.
But I also, with my sensible head on, know that the most likely outcome, whilst there's a lot of potential there for excitement, the most likely outcome is a very dominant Luke Humphries performance. I think that Luke Humphries will have watched the result from tonight, watched Luke Littler go out of this tournament and thought to himself, this is mine, this.
Yeah.
And I think that was exactly what he'll need to fire himself up. I think we see another big performance from Humphries tomorrow, and I think it's going to be 11-5. I think it's going to be a big one. What have we got in the chat room? Is anybody brave enough to back Stephen Bunting? Is anybody going Bunting mental in the chat room? Tom's got Luke Humphries 11-8. Joel has got Humphries 11-7. Jack's got 11-6. Shelty's got 11-6. I don't think anyone's going to be brave enough to pick Bunting. And with the greatest respect to Stephen Bunting, I love watching Stephen Bunting. He's a brilliant player. But Luke Humphries is just so good. And I do think he will have taken some solace or confidence, from the fact that the biggest threat to his World Matchplay campaign is gone, isn't he?
I genuinely think if he was playing anyone else that's playing out of the 8 that are playing tomorrow night, I'd have been giving Bunting not just a really good chance, but possibly even picking him to win. But I just think Humphries is
you're dead right. It's the draw, isn't it? But you're right. I think if Bunting plays any of those other 6 players, then I'd probably pick Bunting to win.
Yeah.
He's playing the best player on the planet. Right, we'll move on. Oh.
What did you go in the end? 11-8 did you go?
11-5.
Oh, 5. You went, you gave him a
big. Oh, Patrick snuck one in at the end there as well. He's waited till I put mine in. There he goes. 11-5. Humphries walks it.
Well, it was nice not to feel like I was completely on my own for that one.
Good. Yeah. Well, now this is a funny one. If I wasn't doing this stream tomorrow, then there's a decent chance I turn in early and get myself to bed.
Yeah. I really like Jonny Clayton, and that's probably as much as I need to say in terms of what I'm saying there. Really like Jonny Clayton, but even so, I don't want to watch this.
Do you know what? I think it's the hardest pick tomorrow. I'm not finding this one a particularly easy. We've got world number 8 against world number 9. We've seen. I appreciate that Dimitri is, recently a major winner. He's won the UK Open, but he hasn't really had the level of game and form to really back that up.
He did it at 9 daughter the other day, but
yeah, but I'm talking like
more so than just one leg against Indy.
do I think that Jonny played really well at the Players' Championships, and he played
really well the other night, to be fair.
Very well against Barney. Yes, sod it. Jonny Clayton wins 11-8.
See, I really wanted to pick Jonny Clayton to win this as well. But if I do that after you've done that, that means Dimmy will definitely win. I'm just not sure I want to see any more of it. So, no, sorry, I'm sticking to my guns. Jonny Clayton wins 11-9.
Let's have a look and see what the chat room has gone with. I think, for the first time tonight, I think we've got a bit of a mixed bag in here. Tom, I've had to decode that one. I think that's Dimitri 11. Jonny
Tom's thrown a couple of rogue ones in where he's used some numbers.
I'll tell you what it is. He knows that I'm absolutely full of man flu, loaded full of lemsip, and slightly hazy, and he's just like, he's playing games with me. Joel's got Dimitri an 11-6 winner. There's something special about Dimmy. I think Dimmy needs to rein in a few of the specials, I think.
His granddad did love this tournament.
Jack's got Dimmy 11-7. Shelty's got Dimmy 11-8. Lots of love for Dimmy in the chat room this evening. Patrick's gone heart over head, probably a bit like us. He's gone Clayton with an 11-8. Mr. David. Oh, he's put a few comments in, but he hasn't committed to a pick. David, get your pick in, and we'll probably.
He is right though. He will definitely.
Oh God, 100%. And that's about it. Like we have a little bit sort of rushed through things today. That's probably due to my.
Partly just because we didn't have any clips to share with people to talk about as well. But
yeah,
the Wi-Fi has won that one.
Yeah, they are apparently at some point going to introduce fibre broadband to Blackpool.
Are they?
Some point in the future, yeah. They're due to get the internet. Don't know when.
Maybe that's what happened. Like Phil was trying to upload the videos and someone used the phone and it. That's
it. Yeah, someone's mum needed to use the phone. He's had to unplug that the cable. Remember the dial-up extension you around the house? So plug it in. Nana's phone. Nana can't get through because Dan's on the internet again. I remember those days fondly. Right, folks, we'll probably leave it there for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know who's on with me.
It's a good question that I don't know the answer to either. Which
might be a few of us. Who knows? It could be 2, could be 3. Let's go and don't worry, Tom. I'm only taking the mic. We will be back tomorrow.
Well, it's just you at the moment, Dan. So I think that means it'll be me as well.
Yeah, could be the 18 back out tomorrow. Yes. If you are in the chat room, then we will be here all week. I think I'm here until maybe Thursday or Friday when I'm going to travel down to Blackpool for a few days. I am going to be there at the back end of the week. So if you are travelling and making the pilgrimage to the holy Winter Gardens in Blackpool, please do let me know. I might buy you a pint. Well, we can meet up and have a high five. Folks, thank you very much indeed for tuning in. Your involvement in the chat room is always very much appreciated. Strange one tonight. I think we were very excited about it. It was all right.
Yeah.
But big, exciting day for darts tomorrow, I think. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much, Cam, for joining me. And good night, one and all.